Hey guys, welcome back to Introvert Life with NB. Today we're going to be speaking about small talk. Let's roll the intro. Good old small talk, hey? It's a part of life these days. It's not my forte. I don't particularly like it. Now, it's not that we can't be good at it, it's just draining. But let's be clear though. Let's be clear on one thing. Introverts do not hate small talk because we dislike people. We hate small talk because we hate the barrier it creates between people. What does that mean? Well, I'm going to give you a few reasons why we dislike it and how it creates that barrier. Number one is, as an introvert, we spend a lot of time in our heads with so many thoughts to engage with others. We have to actively, flip that switch in mind and focus on external conversation. The more conversation, allows us to think, turn inwards, the more rewarding it is. The more it focuses on external topics, such as small talk, it is more draining for us. So that's why we don't particularly like it. That's one of the reasons. The other one is we are comfortable in silence, which is seen as a bad thing. Like I'll go out to a function and I won't really talk to people. I'm happy to sit there and just chill and be in my own space, and it's seen as being antisocial. And for us, we just don't feel it's necessary to start a conversation about the weather or something surface level just to fill in, a void, fill in that blank space. Nah, we'll happily sit in silence. Doesn't bother us. Number three is small talk is not constructed for active listening. What I mean by that is because we're introverts, we often spend, much of our small talk conversation attempting to dig deeper to get to the point where we can, then use our active listening skills. We aren't trying to open up profound discussion, but rather we're trying to get our conversation partner to share more about, themselves, their situation, or a idea that they have, which allows, the conversation to flow more naturally. Number four is we think before we speak. We process, as an introvert, we process internally. We like to think before we speak. It's our mind's natural way of doing things. Small talk is often fast paced and, it doesn't allow us to internally process things, quick enough, which is why it can be very awkward at times and we can just be like caught off guard and go blank and so many thoughts going through our mind, we just don't know what to say. And, anytime we have to act like that, it goes against our natural way of conversation and preference. So, it feels forced and it feels fake when we're doing small talk because it's so bland. And I've seen it myself. I'm like, oh yeah, today's good. Today's been good. Like, no, it comes across fake and comes across like I do not give a shit. But it's just not how we communicate. We're on a deeper level. We don't like the external, skimming the surface kind of stuff, which is hard for us. Trust me, it's hard. Which is why I'm actually going to give you guys some tips on how to, if you're in a situation around small talk, how to turn that into more of a deeper conversation and, suit our needs better and just have overall better communication and better conversations with people. So I'm going to give you 4 tips today. The first tip is ask open-ended and engaging questions. What I mean about that is, talk about maybe a sporting match on the weekend that you both watched. Now, I don't just mean, how good was the game on the weekend? That can be a starter, yes, but that leads to more. That leads to the other person going, oh yeah, the game was awesome. What about this moment? What about that moment? What about that player? That then opens the conversation and goes deeper. Off the back of that, number 2 is then dig deeper into their answers. Respond to something they've shared is a sign that we're actually listening, and it gives good feedback to the person going, oh, these guys are listening. They're listening to what I'm saying. They're asking me more questions and wanting me to dive into whatever we're talking about. So number 1, ask open questions. Number 2, dig deeper into those, answers that you're getting. Number 3, share your own experiences of knowledge around the topics you're talking about. And making sure that you are talking about things that you have in common, because then it becomes like interrogation if you're just continually asking them questions and you're not giving any of your own personality, your own experience or knowledge. It doesn't really make the conversation flow, and it actually becomes quite awkward and weird. So ask those open-ended questions, dig deeper on the answers, share your own experiences and knowledge. And number 4, if it's a conversation where you need to be vulnerable or you feel like you need to be vulnerable, go first. But before you open up, ask for permission first, all right? Go to that person, hey, say you're having a bad day and you want to express how you feel. Go, hey, I'm having a bit of a bad day. Is it all right if I share how I feel to you or share what's happened today? Don't just dive in, because that other person's going to be like, what the fuck? This person's just opening up about all their feelings and emotions. I am not prepared for this at all. I don't know how to deal with this. And then it makes it awkward, puts stress on them. So the best thing to do when being vulnerable and talking about your feelings and emotions, if you need to, is first ask permission. So let me just recap the tips. Now, as I said, you can, when I mention deep conversation, and turning small talk into that deep conversation, it doesn't have to be about feelings and emotions. As I mentioned in the beginning, it can be about a sporting match. It could be about a book you're both reading, or, plants that are in a cafe, or the coffee or the food, or it can be about anything, but just pick a topic that you both have in common and dive into it. So I'll just recap the tips again. Tip 1, ask open-ended and engaging questions. Tip 2, dig deeper into those answers. Responding to something they've shared is a sign that you're actually listening to them and will keep them engaged in the conversation. Number 3, share your own experiences of knowledge around the topics, talking about things that you both have in common there. And number 4, when it comes to, being vulnerable, go first, but before you be vulnerable, ask permission. So they're my 4 tips. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I know it's hard when it comes to small talk, especially with extroverts and people that you may or may not particularly want to talk to. But the way you can make it better for you is to make it work in your favor. Do things that are going to play to your strengths. You don't want to be having conversations that are your weakness, because you're going to come across as not really giving a shit and antisocial. No. We're not that. We just have to learn to play to our strengths when it comes to conversations and socializing and that. So trust me, implement these tips. It's going to work wonders, and you're going to have much better relationships, communication. Everything's going to be so much better, because you're going to understand yourself more, for starters, and people are going to understand you more, because you're actually going to be diving deep with them. And we'll bring it all back to mental health here. If you're doing that when you're in a good spot, if you're having these conversations, deep conversations, now doesn't have to be about your feelings, but you're just having deep conversations about certain topics, when it does come time when you're having a bad time, you're going through a rough patch in life, you're going to think, that person I've had a lot of deep conversations with, I can go talk to them. Instead of going, oh shit, I don't know who to open up to. I don't know who to talk to. I'm just going to try deal with this myself. And you're just going to go down a spiral, dig yourself a deeper hole, when we don't have to do that. So yes, it's good for us introverts to have these better conversations, but it helps when it comes to mental health as well. This is both introvert, extrovert. Have those deeper connections, build those relationships, because when it does come time, when you're having those bad days, rough patches, as I mentioned before, you know who to go to, and you have that support network there for you. So hope you got some value out of this episode. If you do, please remember to like, share, and subscribe. As I said, I'm really enjoying these episodes. I can share my own experiences and give you guys some tips and tricks around, being an introvert and mental health and all that kind of stuff as well. So if you did, as I said, remember to like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next episode. Cheers.